Hey, it's Dale Calvert, CMGSportsCardInvestments.com. Many of you know that all this year, 2024, we've really devoted our personal self-education time into studying and learning as much about the sports card market as we possibly can to figure out what are the best systems, processes, ways to create profit and create a profitable business in this niche, in this market. And granted, it's changed a lot from the time my brother and I had our sports card and memorabilia shop, in the late 80s, early 90s. Changed a lot. Back in the day, when you went to a show and you set up, it was basically old time, old fart collectors and kids. That was who was at the shows, and shows were booming back then. But it was primarily, there was no teenagers, there was no young adults. It was primarily kids, dads, moms with their kids, and then old time collectors, people that have been collecting for years and years. And that was the market. Today, honestly, after really taking some time and looking at this from every angle I possibly can, I've come to the conclusion that the majority of people in the market today are, the best way to describe them in my mind is degenerate gamblers. Gamblers. A lot of these people don't even have a personal collection. A lot don't even understand the rules of the sport, don't really care about the sport. Many never watched the sport, never played the sport. They just look up the comp, and if they can talk someone into buying any card below comp, far enough below comp, and they feel like they can convince somebody else to buy it, that's the game that they're playing. And there's nothing wrong with that, to each their own. But there's a lot of people in the market, and that's their mentality every single day. And it's just changed a lot. And I'm talking to a lot of people now that are like myself that, were heavily into the card market during the junk wax years. As many of you know, my brother and I had our own sports card and memorabilia shop, but the market has changed drastically without question. And for me, I think it just helps if you really are serious about building a significant business in this niche. Then one of the things I've always done in any business is just ask the right questions. And I believe you've got to know who you're talking to. Who am I attempting to communicate with, especially in a business that requires negotiation, which absolutely sports cards does. So the most important question, if you're in my situation, if you're trying to learn this business, if you're reading every article that you can read, and you're watching videos, and you're going to websites, and you're listening to podcasts, the most important question anyone attempting to learn the market, learn this niche, is always ask yourself, who is this person? What's their motivation? But who is this person, and why should I be listening to them? That's the number one question. And I don't care what type of business you're in, what type of niche you're trying to learn. That's always the most important question, because what I've seen, and we can talk about Shopify stores, and we can talk about Amazon FBA and a lot of other businesses and niches, and people get themselves in trouble when they don't ask themselves that question. Who is this person, and why am I listening to them? Because there is a lot of misinformation in every niche, in every market. And as a market becomes more and more popular, there will always be those that are trying to teach others how to do that which they've never done. That's the world in which we live today. So I hope this is making sense, because some of you are very serious about building a significant income. Some want to quit your 9-to-5 job. You want to be able to do sports cards full time. And I think you have to really look at this from a strategic standpoint, and really ask yourself the right questions. And the most important question to ask yourself, if you're attempting to buy or sell a sports card, is what kind of personality am I dealing with here? And again, this is stuff that, I've never really heard people talk about. I'm going to share with you the 5 personalities. So from my perspective, and again, this will continue to evolve over time because I've been down this road many times with many different businesses and many different niches. And I believe this is the last niche that I'll ever be involved with because I just love it. But you have to ask yourself, who am I dealing with here? And again, from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, but especially when I go to a lot of shows and people, let me see what you got in your case, and would you take this? And they're trying to convince me why I should sell a card at 60 or 70% of comp, or why should, if I express interest in a card, why I should pay comp or higher for a particular card and what that player is going to do next year and what ESPN said and what, this stats say and what that stats say. And, it's really, people love to buy. I love to buy. We all love to buy, but nobody likes to be sold. And there's a lot of degenerate gambler mentalities in this market that are just out there wheeling and dealing every single day, buying, selling, flipping, have no personal collection. And again, a lot of them don't even understand the rules of the sport. It's all about what the comps say on this. And again, I'm not saying there's a time in my life when I would have been right on top of that. I get that. I understand. I understand that mentality. I really sincerely do. I don't have a problem with it. But I think, as a general rule, if you want to build a significant business, you have to understand these, and not everybody is that type of collector/investor. Then you have the quick flippers, where people are buying at this show and they're thinking, okay, maybe I'll invest in these particular cards because I'm doing a show, and maybe if I can pick up these hot Brewers cards, Milwaukee Brewers cards tonight or at this show, I know I'm going to be doing another show in 2 months in Milwaukee or somewhere in Wisconsin, and maybe that'll give me a good chance to profit and move these cards. They're quick flippers. They will flip from show to show to show, but that's normally not all they do. So what's the difference, Dale, between a degenerate gambler and a quick flipper? Quick flippers usually have a personal collection. They enjoy the sports, and they don't depend just upon the data on their phone. And then they also, many of the quick flippers also do they're short-term investors. Like they'll buy cards this year expecting to be able to sell them 2 to 3 years from now, if and when the player, makes it to a championship or All-Stars or NBA All-Star game or baseball All-Star game. They're looking for quality players to invest in, but they have maybe no long-term goal to hold on to those players. But their quick flip or their short-term investment is, a year, 2, maybe 3 years down the road. A lot of people like that. And then you have long-term investors. And in my mind, for me to be able to categorize this, a long-term investor is somebody that, really has deep conviction that a particular player, Bryce Harper or Ohtani or maybe even Bobby Witt Jr. or somebody, has all the tools to make it to the Hall of Fame, and they plan on buying as many of their cards as they can right now, and down the road cashing those in, as that person gets closer and closer to the Hall of Fame. And then thankfully, you have collectors. And granted, the collectors are the backbone of this business. Don't ever think they're not. Most collectors focus on, vintage really, and which makes sense. And then there's some people that are a combination of all these. Okay, but there are people that there's a dominant phase, if you will, a dominant phase, a dominant mindset, a dominant mentality, a dominant method of operation. And if you can understand in communication who you're dealing with, especially if it's one-on-one communication, it will help you tremendously. Is this somebody that wants to buy these cards because they want to hold them long term, and this particular player is part of their personal collection? They've been collecting Robin Yount for years, or whoever. Understanding who you're communicating with will really help you. It's helped me a lot, but it's taken me a while to put together in my mind these 5 different types of collectors/investors. So another thing that I'm realizing, and it's really kind of blown my mind, but there's more ego in this niche than any I've ever worked. And I've worked a lot of different business niches. The egos in this niche are shocking to me. A lot of people have, this is my process, this is how I do it, I don't do anything else, this is all I do, this is all I want to do, this is all I care to do. And yes, I could probably make money and create profits if I did this, and this, but all I do is this. I only invest in football rookie quarterbacks, period. Or I only invest in vintage baseball cards, period. And you guys can name as many of these people that are just closed-minded. They're stuck in this world. This is the way they do it, and they have the mentality, this is my way is the only way, and I'm not interested in knowing anything about any other way or making any more money. And a lot of people are stuck in that. And a lot of people teach from that standpoint. This is the way and the only way. And the reality is, if we choose to, we can all learn from each other. I mean, I learn from all these guys and gals. And I like listening and learning from as many people as I can, reading as much as I can, observing as much as I can. And I don't want to ever get stuck in, this is the only way to do it. I never want, I may get stuck, and probably will at some point, and this is the best way to do it. But the reality is, the best way to do it depends upon what are your personal goals. Because your personal goals will determine your best moves. If you just want $300 to $500 a month, it's going to be different than if you're trying to build a 6-figure sports card business. So there's going to be different best ways for different people depending upon personal goals. Personal goals determine the strategy that you should use to reach those goals. But the bottom line is, we can all learn from each other. We can discover more ways to earn profits and provide value to the hobby and to the market with the correct mindset. And I'm not saying, you need to have this mindset or that mindset. We're all individuals. We can do whatever we want to do. But these are just some observations after, 8 months of really, really determined, focused self-education in this niche. And some of the things that I'm realizing that, because I see a lot of people communicating with people, and it's like they're communicating from their dominant phase, and they've never stopped and asked themselves, why does a person want this card? Do they want to buy it today and flip it this afternoon? Is this something they feel like they want to hold on to for 2 or 3 years? Is this their PC, the one of the people that they want to add to their personal collection? Are they a long-term investor? Where are they coming from? And so when you communicate with everybody and from your dominant phase, and you see this a lot with vintage collectors. It was like one guy, this kid came up, and a kid, he was in his 20s, but had some phenomenal cards that he was wanting to get rid of because he wanted to buy a car and pay cash. And he's showing some of these cards, and I'm thinking, my gosh, you know, that's he's trying to let these go for 30, 40, 50% of comp. He just came in. He said, I just want to sell these and I'm leaving. He said, I'm not into sports anymore. And they were all, slab cards. And some were from, the 90s, some basketball. But regardless, the dealer, I'm sitting there, I'm just, I'm looking at the dealer's table and I'm overhearing this. And the dealer says, no, I only deal with vintage, pre 1960. And I'm thinking, so I watched the kid, he's walking, away from that guy, and he's walking around. I just tapped him and I said, hey, I'd like to take a look at them. And he said, well, I'm only interested in selling them all. I ended up buying all of them. And probably one of the best deals that we've done this year. But that dealer, because of his closed mentality, I only buy pre-60 vintage, is losing money every show he's going to, I'm sure of it. And why? How do people get in those fixed mindsets like that? It's fascinating to me. So I don't want to do that personally. I want to keep as open as I can and continue to learn and grow and get better and understand more and not get into this is the only way I do it. I just don't want to get there. So if this has helped you at all, if this has opened your mind, given you a mind tweak in any way, shape, or form, let me see if I've got this pulled up. Yeah, I hope you will check out our website at cmgsportscardinvestments.com because we talk about a lot of stuff like this, trying to get as deep as we can. And again, my market, I understand the people that I'm communicating with are entrepreneur minded first, who understand that the sports card business, the sports card niche is expected to explode between now and 2032. They know the data, they understand the market. It's going to get bigger and bigger. They want to get in front of this from a solid standpoint. We're not talking about a COVID spike that I wasn't around then, but the COVID spike that everybody talked about. They're talking about good, solid, steady growth year after year for the next few years and want to tap into that. That's really my market. It's not the quick flippers or it's not the degenerate gamblers. It's, I know who my audience is. And if anything that I've said has made sense for you, I hope you will obviously subscribe to this channel. If you want to turn on the bell notification, you can, but at least subscribe to the channel. Any comments, I try to reply to all of them. And then check out our website at cmgsportscardinvestments.com because, I'm just at the very beginning of this journey. I'm excited about being back into this niche. And who knows where this is going to lead, but I'm having a lot of fun, enjoying every day, enjoying what I'm learning, enjoying the cards. I'm a big Reds fan. My wife's a Braves fan, and those of you that are watching this at the time it's being recorded and you keep up with baseball, then you probably know the Braves are playing the Reds. Right now, the Reds won tonight, 4-1. Ellie led off the game with a triple. As soon as it came off his bat and went in the right field corner, I told my wife, I said, that's a triple. Nobody else would be thinking about it, but he'll be at third. He scored. It was a great game if you're a Reds fan, and I love the Braves too. I enjoy watching the Braves. But tomorrow night we'll be at the game. So it's made this year's been different for me in many ways, but I've loved it, and I know a lot of you love it as well, and I know a lot of you want to do well here and create profits. And I hope the idea of being able to understand who you're communicating with when you're buying or selling, that concept has resonated with you. And if it has, I would, of course, continue to appreciate your feedback. You guys have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.